The Galactic Qualification Examination wasn't supposed to be a death sentence. It was meant to be difficult, yes, practically impossible, even but not lethal. Something had gone catastrophically wrong, and Captain Maya Santos knew at the moment the temperature plunged below -70°C. System malfunction detected. Environmental controls compromised. Estimated survival time, 8 standard hours. The artificial intelligence's clinical voice echoed through the exam chamber, its tone jarringly calm against the backdrop of Maya's panicked breathing. She wasn't alone. 5 alien candidates stood in various states of distress around the circular room, their features illuminated by the emergency lighting's crimson glow. The Galactic Federation had gathered the top military tacticians from across the known universe for this legendary test, one human among 5 of the most advanced species. "We're going to die," hissed Zextral, the arachnoid representative, mandibles clicking in anxiety. "This facility is abandoned. The proctors are gone." Maya studied her competitors. Beside the 8-limbed Zextral stood Commander YLVA, a towering meridian with translucent skin that pulsed with bioluminescent light currently flashing in distress patterns. Krith'Nor, the reptilian saurian, was already showing signs of torpor, its normally vibrant scales dulling as its cold-blooded metabolism slowed. The crystalline lithoid called Petra remained motionless, seemingly unaffected, while Nvex, the gaseous nebulite contained within a sophisticated environmental suit, was frantically adjusting controls on its containment field. "This is part of the test," said Petra, voice resonating like vibrating crystal. "They are evaluating our survival response." Maya shook her head, her breath forming thick clouds in the rapidly cooling air. "No." The AI said, "Malfunction. Something's broken." "Perhaps that is the deception," countered YLVA, voice melodic despite the fear. The Galactic Federation would not risk the lives of its most promising candidates. Maya had done her research before accepting this invitation. The Galactic Federation had a reputation for ruthless pragmatism, and humanity's recent discovery by their scouts had put Earth in a precarious position. Her performance here wouldn't just determine her own future, it would influence how the Federation viewed humanity's potential value. "Whether it's real or simulated doesn't matter," Maya said, her military training kicking in. "We need to act as if it's real. We need to survive." "The human speaks sense," rumbled Krith'Nor, moving sluggishly. "Cold affects me greatly. Cannot think clearly." Nvex's voice came through a translator on its suit. "My environmental systems are failing. The extreme temperature is causing my gaseous form to condense. I will become liquid in approximately 3 hours." Maya assessed the situation quickly. The chamber was large, roughly 50 meters in diameter with a domed ceiling 30 meters high. It was empty except for 6 supply crates, one for each candidate sealed with biometric locks. Around the perimeter stood 6 doors, all sealed and marked with incomprehensible symbols. "Check your crates," Maya ordered, authority in her voice prompting even the reluctant aliens to comply. Maya placed her palm against her crate scanner. With a pneumatic hiss, it opened to reveal a perplexing assortment of items: a plasma cutter, several metallic sheets, a device that resembled a battery, some wire, tools, and a data pad filled with technical specifications in a language she couldn't read. The others' crates contained similar items, though with notable differences that appeared tailored to each species' capabilities. Petra's contained various crystalline components, while Nvex had specialized equipment for manipulating gases. "These are components," Maya said, examining the items. "Not complete solutions. We are expected to collaborate," suggested YLVA, whose luminescence had dimmed to conserve energy. "Pooling resources could," "Absolutely not," interrupted Zextral. "The examination requires individual solutions. Collaboration would disqualify us all." Maya frowned. "Where does it say that?" "It is known," Zextral insisted, though Maya noted a hint of uncertainty. "Well, I don't know it," she replied. "And I'm not going to freeze to death because of some rule you think might exist." Krith'Nor had slumped against its crate, scales now dull gray. "Cannot function. Too cold." The temperature continued to drop, now approaching -80°C. Maya felt the burning sensation in her lungs with each breath, and her fingers had lost most of their dexterity despite the thermal gear the Federation had provided all candidates. Maya made a decision. I'm building a shelter. Anyone who wants to join me can. Anyone who doesn't, good luck. She dragged her supplies toward the chamber's center, away from the walls where the cold seemed most intense. Using the plasma cutter, she began shaping the metal sheets into a crude dome. "What is your plan, human?" asked Petra, who had approached silently. "A heat reflector," Maya explained, working quickly despite her numbing hands. "And if I can figure out this power source, maybe something more." Petra observed for a moment, then retrieved its own supplies. "I will assist. My crystalline structure conducts energy in ways your materials cannot." Maya nodded gratefully. "What about the rest of you?" YLVA joined them next. The Meridian Collective values adaptation over rigid adherence to assumed rules. Zextral hesitated, 8 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of internal conflict in arachnoid body language. "I will observe. For now." Nvex remained apart, focused on its rapidly failing suit systems. Krith'Nor hadn't moved, now barely conscious. Working together, Maya, Petra, and YLVA constructed a small dome of reflective metal. Maya's military engineering training proved invaluable as she figured out how to connect the mysterious power source to create heat. "These specifications," YLVA said, examining the data pad. "They're written in Federation standard, but contain subtle errors that make the instructions dangerous if followed exactly." "So it is a test," Maya muttered. "They're checking if we blindly follow instructions or think critically." "The Federation values independent thought," Petra confirmed. "Though they rarely admit it." As they worked, Maya noticed something about the chamber she hadn't initially. "The cold is coming from specific points," she said, pointing to nearly invisible vents along the walls. "They're pumping in something liquid, nitrogen maybe, or another coolant." "Can we block the vents?" asked YLVA. "Better," Maya said, a plan forming. "We can redirect them." Using components from their combined supplies, they constructed a series of reflective channels that directed the supercooled air away from their shelter and toward the chamber's outer edges, creating a temperature gradient that made their central position slightly more tolerable. The improvised power source hummed to life, and within their small dome, the temperature rose to a barely survivable -30 degrees Celsius. Not comfortable, but enough to prevent immediate death. "Krith'Nor needs help," Maya said, looking at the nearly comatose Saurian. "Their metabolism can't handle this cold. Bringing the Saurian here will strain our resources," Zextral warned, having finally joined their group when it became clear that individual survival was impossible. "We help everyone," Maya insisted. "Or we're no better than the system that put us here." Together, they retrieved Krith'Nor, whose scales had turned an alarming shade of gray. The reptilian was barely breathing, its powerful body now limp and vulnerable. "Nvex," Maya called out. "You too. Your suit's failing. We've got heat." The nebulite hesitated, then floated toward them, its containment field visibly fluctuating. "My species does not easily trust," it said through its translator. "But I recognize necessity when I see it." With all 6 candidates now in their makeshift shelter, Maya organized them to conserve space and maximize the benefit of their heat source. Petra's crystalline body, they discovered, could be configured to amplify and distribute the heat more efficiently. "My species evolved in stellar nurseries," Nvex explained, its gaseous form stabilizing somewhat in the warmer environment. "We understand energy transfer intimately." The nebulite helped Maya reconfigure their power source, increasing its efficiency by 30%. Meanwhile, YLVA's bioluminescence provided light, allowing them to work more effectively, and Zextral's 8 limbs proved invaluable for the detailed work of connecting components. Even Krith'Nor, once warmed enough to function, contributed valuable insights on structural integrity from its species' renowned architectural knowledge. "We're still losing heat," Maya noted after 3 hours. The temperature outside their shelter had dropped to -120 degrees Celsius, and even with their combined efforts, they couldn't maintain a temperature above -25 degrees Celsius inside the dome. "The examination parameters must have been corrupted," Petra theorized. "No test would deliberately push candidates beyond survivable limits." "Unless survival isn't the test," Maya said quietly. 5 pairs of alien eyes turned toward her. Explain, demanded Zextral. What if they're not testing if we can survive impossible odds, Maya suggested, but how we choose to face them? Do we sacrifice others to save ourselves? Do we give up? Or do we fight together until the end? A heavy silence fell over the group. In military history on Earth, Maya continued, there are countless examples of soldiers facing certain death who chose how to spend their final moments. Some broke, some fought alone, but the ones we remember, the ones who sometimes achieved the impossible, were those who stood together. A noble sentiment, Petra acknowledged, but sentiment will not generate more heat. No, Maya agreed, but it might help us think more clearly. She turned to YLVA. You said the instructions contained errors. What if that's deliberate? What if we're supposed to find a solution they didn't provide? YLVA's bioluminescence brightened momentarily, the meridian equivalent of a smile. An interesting theory. They reviewed the supplies again, this time looking beyond their intended purposes. Maya noticed something about the chamber's floor, subtle seams that indicated panels. There's something under us, she said, using the plasma cutter to pry at one of the seams. After several tense minutes, a panel lifted, revealing a complex network of conduits and circuits. The environmental control system, Vex exclaimed, gaseous form swirling excitedly. We can access it directly. Working together, with each species contributing their unique expertise, they isolated the malfunctioning components. Krith'Nor, now recovered enough to function, identified a critical junction where the system had been deliberately sabotaged. Not malfunction, the Saurian hissed. Sabotage. Look. A small device had been attached to the environmental controls, overriding the safety protocols. Can we remove it? Asked Maya. No, Vex responded. It has integrated itself with the primary systems. Removal would trigger catastrophic failure. Then we bypass it, Maya decided. Redirect the commands. It was delicate work, made more complicated by their deteriorating physical condition. After 7 hours, just before the AI's predicted survival limit, they succeeded. The temperature began to rise gradually, but their victory was short-lived. Warning. Security breach detected. Initiating containment protocols. Red lights flashed, and a force field shimmered into existence around their shelter. They're trying to stop us, Zextral chittered anxiously. No, Maya countered, studying the field. They're isolating us. Look, the temperature outside the field is dropping even faster, but it's stable in here. Why would they? YLVA began, but was interrupted by a new voice that filled the chamber. Examination complete. Results being compiled. A holographic projection appeared in the center of their shelter, showing a stern-faced Federation official Aquarian, with 4 arms and an exoskeletal cranium. Candidates, this was indeed the true Galactic Qualification Examination. Not a test of individual excellence, but of cooperative potential under extreme duress. The aliens' gaze swept over them. For centuries, the Federation has sought species capable of true cooperation beyond their own kind, a surprisingly rare trait. We deliberately created a scenario where individual survival was impossible, to observe how you would respond. The temperature in the chamber was rapidly returning to normal as the official continued. The Federation faces threats that cannot be overcome by any single species or approach. We need worlds that can contribute to a greater whole, not just serve their own interests. The official's attention fixed on Maya. Human, your species is new to us, untested. Yet you demonstrated remarkable qualities, technical adaptability, yes, but more importantly, moral leadership. You insisted on saving all, even when it compromised efficiency. The hologram expanded to show a larger council chamber where other Federation officials were observing them. All candidates will receive full qualification status, the official announced. But Earth will receive special consideration for accelerated Federation membership, a privilege normally reserved for civilizations with centuries more development. The force field dissipated, and the doors around the chamber slid open, revealing Federation representatives and medical teams. Your injuries will be treated, and you will be returned to your worlds with full honors, the official concluded. You have proven yourselves worthy not just as individuals, but as representatives of species capable of transcending their evolutionary programming when faced with existential challenges. As medical personnel rushed in, Maya found herself supported by YLVA on one side and Krith'Nor on the other. "You saved us, human," Krith'Nor said, scales now returning to their vibrant color. "We saved each other," Maya corrected. Zextral approached, mandibles now relaxed. "I was incorrect about the rules. My cultural conditioning nearly cost lives. This is a lesson I will carry back to my hive." Nvex's containment field stabilized as Federation technicians repaired its suit. "The Nebulite consciousness will hear of this human's actions. We have long been skeptical of biological species' capacity for genuine selflessness." Petra, whose crystalline structure gleamed under the restored lighting, touched Maya's shoulder, a significant gesture for a lithoid, whose physical contact was rare and meaningful. In 50,000 years of Federation history, the crystalline being said, only 17 tests have ended with all candidates surviving. "You have achieved something remarkable, Maya Santos." 3 months later, Maya stood before the United Earth Council, delivering her report on the examination and its aftermath. The chamber was packed with global leaders, military officials, and scientific experts, all eager to hear about humanity's unexpected fast-track to Federation membership. "The Federation values something we take for granted," she explained. "Our adaptability, yes, and our technological ingenuity, but most of all, our capacity to see beyond differences when survival is at stake." A council member leaned forward. "Captain Santos, given what you now know about the Federation and its member species, do you believe Earth should accept their offer of accelerated membership?" Maya thought of her alien companions, now friends, each returned to their worlds with similar questions being asked of them. "The universe is colder and more dangerous than we imagined," she said finally. "But it's also filled with potential allies who recognize in us something valuable. Not our resources or our strategic position, but our spirit, our refusal to abandon others even when logic might dictate otherwise." She straightened her shoulders. "Humanity has always defined itself by how we face impossible challenges. We've never been the strongest or the fastest species even on our own world, but we've survived because we work together." Maya smiled, thinking of the unlikely shelter they'd built together in that frozen chamber. "The Federation isn't perfect. It's bureaucratic, often frustratingly cautious, and sometimes morally ambiguous. But it's reaching out to us because it sees in humanity not just another client species, but a potential partner in facing galactic challenges that no civilization can overcome alone." The council room fell silent as she delivered her conclusion. "I believe we should accept their offer not because we need the Federation, but because perhaps, in ways they themselves are only beginning to recognize, the Federation needs us." 3 years later, Maya stood on the observation deck of the Federation flagship Convergence, watching Earth recede as they headed toward the galactic core. Beside her stood YLVA, now Earth's diplomatic liaison to the Meridian Collective, and Krith'Nor, who had requested permanent assignment to the Joint Military Command where Maya now served as a senior tactical officer. "You look troubled, friend Maya," observed Krith'Nor, its scales shifting in patterns of concern. "Not troubled," she replied. "Just thinking about that test chamber. How close we all came to dying because we initially refused to work together." YLVA's bioluminescence pulsed gently. "Yet we learned. All our species have grown from that experience. The arachnoid hives have initiated their first genuine cultural exchange programs. The Nebulite consciousness has emerged from isolation to share their energy technologies." "And the humans?" asked Krith'Nor. Maya smiled, watching her homeworld become a small blue dot against the vastness of space. "We're learning that we're not alone in our struggles or in our capacity to overcome them together." A communication alert chimed, and a holographic projection of the Federation Council appeared before them. "Commander Santos," said the Quarian official who had evaluated their examination. "Your mission to the Cygnus Rift proceeds as scheduled. Intelligence suggests the anomalies there may represent a greater threat than initially assessed." "My team is ready," Maya replied confidently, glancing at the diverse group of officers waiting in the command center, representatives from 12 species, including all 5 of her fellow examination survivors. "The examination never truly ends, Commander," the official said cryptically. "Every crisis is another test of our collective resolve." As the transmission ended, YLVA turned to Maya. "They selected you for this mission because of what you demonstrated in that frozen chamber. The ability to forge unity from diversity, strength from cooperation. They selected us, Maya corrected, gesturing to their assembled team. Because what we accomplished together was greater than what any of us could have done alone. As the convergence accelerated to faster-than-light speed, the stars stretching into luminous streaks around them, Maya reflected on how far humanity had come in such a short time. From isolation on a single world to standing among the great civilizations of the galaxy, not because they had conquered or dominated, but because when faced with a frozen hell designed to drive them apart, they had built warmth together, and in that simple, profound choice, they had discovered the true qualification for galactic citizenship, the recognition that in the face of an uncaring universe, the greatest strength comes not from individual excellence, but from the decision to ensure that no one freezes alone. That in the end, the most human quality had proven to be humanity's greatest gift to the stars.